Hello, my name is Miss Green. If you are watching this, I am your child's English language arts teacher for this school year. And so for back to school night, I am going to present to you the same presentation that I gave your child at the beginning of the school year to let them know all of the expectations and what they are to expect for this school year. So I am going to present the information needed, and if anybody has any questions, I will be available for email during back to school night. So the supplies needed for class are very simple. Students will need the Chromebook to be logged into Google Classroom every day. I highly encourage students to have a notebook and writing utensils for notes during class. Whenever we are giving information, it's very important and it's very helpful for the students to have a writing utensil and something to write on so that they can go back and reference the notes. I always put notes in the classroom, but for a lot of students, they find it easier to have their own notes that they can reference at any time. I also put all of the texts and all of the assignments for class onto the Google Classroom. And I also encourage the students to make a copy of those and save them into their Google Drive for them to be able to reference later as well. So, a little about me. I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. I have been teaching ELA since 2015. I have been teaching at University Middle School since 2017. I received my bachelor's in journalism from North Carolina Central University, and I have my MED in curriculum and instruction from Southern New Hampshire University. So, as far as the grading scale for ELA goes, we have tests and essays that hold the most weight, which is 30%. We also have quizzes and projects at 25%. A lot of times, quizzes are going to be quick, multiple choice questions or two or three questions in a Google form that I will send to students while we're in class. So those will be in the form of a Google form. And if a student does not do it during class, then I will have it posted in the classroom for them to be able to make it up. Independent assignments are always going to be classwork and homework and things that we do outside of class. So those are 25%, and then participation is 20%. And I will go into what counts as participation on the next slide. So for our daily schedule, when students come and log into the classroom, they will always have a do now. The do now is also in the form of a Google form that they get the link to and they fill out and submit. It will either be a writing test or a review question or something of that nature. Then we go into the previous day's lesson review. So if we, for example, if we had an assignment that was due previously, or if we were touching on a topic that we needed to expound on because I saw that a lot of students still needed some clarification, we will go into that. And then we will go into the instruction, the student discussion, and then the exit ticket, which is the same as the do now, which is a short assignment in a Google form, and then we would end class. So as far as participation, it will be graded in 3 points. You will have the do now, the discussion, and the exit ticket. All three of those things are counted as participation. You have to contribute at least once to get a discussion point. So a contribution in class can either be a student unmuting their mic to say something, or they can type something in the chat box if they're a little shy and they don't want to speak out. Okay, but they do need to contribute something in order to get the full participation points. Some students I've noticed are not completing their do nows and their exit tickets. So students definitely need to make sure that they are getting both of those in during class time, because those are the two things that we will only do during class, and I will not allow makeups on do nows and exit tickets. So for the live class, while we're in the live class, the expectations are for them to be logged in with their mics muted. I had previously told students that their cameras are optional, but per the superintendent, cameras are required to be on. So students do need to have their cameras on. They do need to be visible, and they should not have hats on, not have hoodies, bonnets, or things like that. They need to be visible and present in class. Um, like I stated previously, do nows and exit tickets need to be completed during class. Those are the only two those are the only two links that I will not put in the classroom for students to do later. Those have to be done in class. Um, I have not had many problems with this, but typing unnecessary and inappropriate things in the chat box. I had to remove one student from class this entire time because they were being inappropriate, but that normally is not a problem. So that is something that is not tolerated, and a student who is kicked out of class won't get credit for that day. They won't get participation for that day. They need participate in class discussions as stated previously through either the chat box or through unmuting your mic, and ask questions when needed. And I will give more information about when a student can ask question outside of class in a upcoming slide. So for the Google Classroom, the expectations are for students to use the classroom as their actual classroom. That is where their assignments are posted. That is where they will be able to access the text and things of that nature. Because I have a lot of students, I have the Google Classroom feed closed for posts. So students are unable to post in the classroom stream, but I do make discussion posts on the feed almost every day that students can comment on and ask questions. So even though students cannot post in the stream, they can comment on my post and ask questions when needed. Or they can send a private comment on one of their assignments if they need help on a particular assignment. Okay, so I tell students all the time that I check the Google Classroom often. I get notifications from Google Classroom directly onto my phone. So whenever they have a comment or whenever they have a problem, I check it as soon as I get it. Assignments should be submitted directly through Classroom. So there is a button on every Google Classroom assignment that says share, and you put your teacher's email in the share, and then you share it to them and that emails it to me. Students should not be doing that. Okay, a lot of times they get a little confused and they press the share button and they email me their assignments, but that is not how they submit assignments. Assignments should only be submitted through Google Classroom. There is a button that says turn in on their assignments, on their end of the assignments. That is how they should be turning in their assignments. If I do not get their assignments turned in through Classroom, then I can't grade it and I can't give them credit for it. Students should not be clicking the Google Meet link outside of class time. 9 times out of 10, they can't get into the meet anyway if a teacher has not let them in. But if that's not the case, they should not be doing it anyway. If an assignment is going to be assigned for that day, it will always be posted after 7th period. So as far as behavior expectations and behavior tracking, we do plan on using Class Dojo to track and monitor student behavior. I have been using Dojo since I started at university, and my students love it. It's very easy for me. They gain points the better they do, and they lose them if the behavior is unsatisfactory. I have not had any issues with unsatisfactory behavior, but I do still like to use Google Classroom to award student points and give a sense of motivation in the class. Um, Once we get that up and running, because it is a school-wide effort, once that's up and running, then I will give more information for everybody to log in. So as stated previously, any assignment needs to be posted in Google Class. Any assignment posted in Google Classroom is expected to be submitted. When a student submits an assignment, I always send feedback about their work if they didn't get 100. If the work is so satisfactory that they got a 100, I normally just give the 100 and I send it back to them. However, if they have a lower grade, such as a 80 or a 70, I will grade them. I will give them a grade, but I will give them feedback and let them know what needs to be fixed. If they choose to redo it and resubmit it, then I will look at it and see if they should get a higher grade on it. Now, there are some instances where a student's work is so unsatisfactory, I'm unable to give them a passing grade on it at all. Okay, so there are a lot of times when a student will simply copy and paste something off the internet that clearly has nothing to do with what our assignment is, or they'll send a blank piece of paper, or they'll put 2 or 3 words on the assignment when it was supposed to be an entire paragraph. I cannot grade that. I cannot give any kind of grade. I cannot give any kind of real feedback or gauge any learning with that type of work being submitted. So, in those cases, if the work is so unsatisfactory that it cannot be graded, what I will do is send it back to the student with no grade. And I will have leave detailed feedback in the comment box under that assignment. So they will see that their assignment was not graded and that their assignment was turned back to them and that they need to look at the feedback and fix whatever is wrong. Now, if a student fails to do that, if they turn the assignment right back into me without making any changes, that tells me that they have no interest in getting a passing grade on that assignment and they will get a 50 on it. Okay, so if they have done work that is unsatisfactory and they have not changed anything, they have not listened to any of my feedback, that work will get a 50. If it was sent back to them because they didn't do anything and then they still don't do anything, they still don't complete the assignment, then of course that's when they get a 0. So a student can only fail an assignment 1 or 2 ways. You can either not do it at all or do it unsatisfactorily. And then once I send it back with the feedback, choose not to look at the feedback. Okay. But if a student tries to improve their work, even after I sent it back, then I'll give them a passing grade because they made an attempt. But if there is no attempt made to improve, then they'll get a 50. Once students are observed to consistently fail to submit work and participate, that is when I will begin to reach out to parents and guardians to see what the best course of action would be, because we don't want that to happen. Okay, the virtual learning setup is being made so that it is very self-directed, very student-directed, and students really need to be able to get their work completed at their own pace and with any assistance that's needed. Office hours. So, for any student who may have not understood something during class and didn't really want to ask questions because they were too shy, or they were starting to work on an assignment but they really didn't understand what we're supposed to be doing, or they got an assignment turned back into them and they don't understand what the feedback is asking them to do, this is a time for them to come to my office hours and ask those questions. This is a chance for one-on-one time for those students. Okay, so office hours for every teacher is between 2:15 p.m. and 2:51 p.m. Okay, the office hours Google Classroom is a completely separate Google Classroom from my actual student classrooms. So what students would then do is simply click on the Google Classroom, click on the Google Meet for the office hours that I will share in their classroom. So the students will have a Meet link that they can click on for office hours, and they can come see me between 2:15 and 2:51. And that is when they can ask any questions that they may have. All right. So if you have any additional questions for me, I will be standing by my email. If you have any other questions, After that, you can simply contact me. If you have any other questions after that, you can contact me by email, of course. And I will have my email in the Google Classroom for students, for parents to contact me with.